All right. Well, Chloe, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Akiva. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise. So, I want to start kind of at the very beginning of your musical journey. I know you started when you were very young, so I'd like to hear all about how you got into the music scene, what that experience was like.
Yes. Well, I started writing songs on the piano when I was 11, and I started DJing when I was 13. And I've
Wow.
always loved music. I've always listened, grew up going to concerts, my family, a very musical family. My mom plays saxophone, my aunt sings, and I grew up listening to a lot of pop music. And I love pop music. So I started writing songs on the piano when I was 11, and I had a horrible piano teacher at the beginning. I hated piano. And then I switched teachers, and this new teacher taught me all the pop songs that I loved, all the Gaga, Whitney Houston. And then I started writing my own songs. And since then, I've been writing, performing. My first gig when I was 13, opening for Paris Hilton, DJing in Ibiza. She asked me to open for her. And yeah, I started releasing songs that I've written, performing all over New York. I got my first fake ID when I was 14 and was off to the races, getting in all the clubs, figuring it out. And always known that it was meant for me. But before that, I thought I was going to be an Olympic ice skater. I started ice skating when I was 3, and I was training so much, like for the Olympics. And I would go wake up at 5 a.m., go ice skating. And something changed when I was 13. I was like, this music thing's really cool. But now I'm starting to bring the ice skating back a bit.
Well, you sound like you've had more lived experience than most people your age. I mean, if you were getting started going to clubs as a teenager, what was that experience like?
It was so fun. I mean, New York is, a crazy city to grow up in. And I took advantage of that. I was like, this is stuff I need to experience. And I love dance music. I grew up spending a lot of time in Ibiza. So I was very exposed to dance music in the club world. And I just love to, on the dance floor, everyone's happy and nothing matters. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. I was bullied a lot in school, so I found a lot of escapism on the dance floor, and a lot of the girls would make fun of me for like loving music or DJing, posting videos online. And I knew that, this is what I love to do. I mean, it wasn't, I didn't realize that at the time. I was like crying every day coming home from school, but um, yeah,
No, that's I know. As difficult as that was, it makes you prescient, like you were ahead of everybody else in terms of what you knew would benefit you later in life. But at the time, it's an experience most kids have. We're ridiculed for the things that we enjoy, but especially when you're an artist, that happens, I think.
for sure. You're the weirdo, you're the freak, but it's cool to be a freak.
Of course. No, it definitely is.
No, it is.
I'm kinda I wanna touch back on the Paris Hilton DJing gig because I know before we move to the present, that's wild. How does something like that occur? Because you said you split your time in Ibiza. What was that experience like splitting your time in Ibiza, and how did that gig come up with Paris Hilton?
Well, I actually started to DJ because I saw a lot of DJs growing up. I'm like, I wanna learn how to DJ. So I went to this music school on 14th Street here in New York. It was called Dubspot, and I took some DJ lessons. And then I started posting videos online. Me wearing my little cat ears, I bedazzled my headphones, and I just posted DJ videos online. And I guess she saw them, and she was like, "Can you open for my children's party?" I'm throwing at Amnesia, which is one of the biggest, most legendary clubs in Ibiza. And she does a lot of charity work. And she threw a kids' party for charity for this. There was this charity in Ibiza that helped disabled kids. And I was like, oh my God, of course. And I was only supposed to play for 15 minutes. I ended up playing for 1 hour. I remember this vividly. They're like, Paris isn't ready yet. Keep going. It was my first gig. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, they gotta have a lot of music prepared. From that moment, the energy on the floor, all the kids were jumping, dancing. It was great. And then I got my own residency there the following summer. I threw my own teenage parties because I would be there over the summer and there was no place for really kids to go. So me and my friend were like, we should create our own party and have all our friends come. And it was a huge success because there was no place for kids to go. And I put on a 2 hour show, DJing, singing, had some dancers in the club, and it was great.
That sounds incredible. So, how does one split their time in Ibiza? What was that experience like? Was it due to your family? What were the
My
circumstances behind that?
parents met there.
Mm.
So my parents met there through a mutual friend at a birthday party. My dad's from New York, my mom's from Australia, and they met there at the time. And then my dad said, "Oh, you should come to New York and visit me." And that's what ended up me being born in New York. But they, their love story started there. Sorry. Their love
No, no
story
worries.
started there. So I guess that was a special moment for them. And being a baby, I didn't know where I was. I was just in the water swimming every day. But as when I got older and being surrounded by, the culture and saw the amazing people there, it's a really magical island. And I learned so much from everyone there. So, yeah.
Very cool. So, okay. So let's just jump right into your music then in that case. Especially your new single is called Famous. And I want to know all about how that came to be and ultimately what the vibe is that you want people to take away from that particular track.
Yeah. Famous is a powerful, chaotic song. I wrote it in LA with my friend collaborator Tor. He's amazing. And he played me a track that was a sick bass line and it had like this robot saying like I can make you famous on it. And I took that. I was like, that's a really cool concept. And I take a lot of inspiration from what's going on around me. I was in LA going to these parties and stuff, and there was a lot of influencer culture. And I just feel now in my generation, like Gen Z, everything is so online, digital based. Everyone's trying to go viral, feel famous, feel seen. And like, I completely love the fact that, people are putting themselves out there and being themselves and not like they want to feel seen. And I took that inspiration and wrote a song about it. Both the sides of, believing in yourself and like doing what you want and like following your goals. Won't stop until you make it, take it, face it. I can make you famous. So that's one side of it. But at the other side, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people that want to be famous for the wrong reasons and trying to get there. But I mean, you can take it. That's the thing with music. You take it how you want to take it. But I love it as an empowering record that tells you to not stop because I'm very driven in that sense. And I
Of
want people to
course.
succeed around me.
So if you were to frame it as a movie, because it sounds like when you say you draw inspiration from the things around you, you're kind of framing it kind of visually. How would you frame it if it were a movie scene, this particular song? Maybe how would you frame that?
Well, it would definitely take place in a club, and there would be a VIP section, and I would be in the VIP section with my girls. And some influencer or like celebrity with a lot of clout would come up and try to get into the VIP room. And then the bouncer would be like, sorry, like, no. And then they would be like, don't you know who I am? And then the bouncer would be like, no, bro, I don't get I don't care, get lost. So there's a lot of that, like making fun of the celebrity culture in a way. I think I thought of doing a video like that, but then the video took a whole different direction and was very unplanned, but also everything I could have dreamed of.
Absolutely. So touching on that a little bit more, what do you think? Because there is the notion of, okay, we live in a time, especially with Gen Z, that you have the ability to make things happen for yourself, obviously by putting yourself out there. But there's an overexposure that comes with it that even we couldn't have anticipated a decade ago, when Instagram was really just reaching its kind of peak at the time. And then of course TikTok came along later. But what do you think about that notion of overexposure and perhaps celebrity culture in general as it pertains to your generation?
I mean, it's such a fine line. I mean, as an artist today, you also have to be a content creator and an influencer. Like it's just you have to do it.
Mhm.
It's part of the job because
Right.
everything is so online based. And if you want to get your music out there and exposed, you have to go film all day and post yourself online and promote your music. So there's a fine line and a taste level of how to do it as an artist, and every artist has a different way of doing it, which is what makes them artists, so their whole world they're building and each way is different. It's a lot to ask of artists that they become full on content creators when there's people that do that all day as a livelihood. And now we're going to have to keep up with them in some way. But I mean, all the overexposure and people wanting to know everything that goes on in your life is crazy, but it's very interesting because, of course, I look up to Lady Gaga. I would love to see what Gaga does on a daily basis and what her days are like, but she's Lady Gaga and she doesn't need to do that. So some artists, they make their art, they put it out there, they post the visuals they want to, and that's totally amazing. And I take a lot of that too. I only post what I want to post and show the making of the records and the this, but sometimes I like to share my days going to fashion events and this and that. I think all that's great. I mean, whatever your heart desires as an artist, but it's a lot of responsibility to keep up with the consistency. You have to have a lot of determination.
Absolutely. No, and I'm noticing this a lot too. I think this has permeated everything, right? This has permeated fashion. It's permeated every creative industry, requires you now to effectively become a content creator, which used to be its own
And
job.
especially the trends changing literally every day. I mean, the creative directors of fashion brands and everything, their jobs are like insane. They're gonna have to every single collection, you have to keep up with the trends. What's the new thing? What's the new thing? Every day on TikTok, there's a new trend. How can you hop on the trend to connect that to your music to try to get it exposed? It's like a constant brain thing. I went viral last week for wearing a cool outfit to a Lady Gaga concert, and she reposted it, and that went like crazy viral. I'm like, how does that? You don't know. You just have to post and see what happens. I don't know. There's no sign.
Absolutely. That's very true, but that brings up a couple of key points for me because I want to touch on fashion. Let's talk about that outfit and let's talk about your relationship to fashion as well. What was the outfit and kind of how did that come to be?
Yeah, well, it was self-styled. I got this jacket. I saw this jacket online by this brand, Namilla, which I loved. And it was super gaga, these raised shoulder pads. And I just wore it to her concert, wore some cute boots and a leather skirt. But I love fashion. I mean, fashion is such an important part of my artistry and daily life. I love playing dress up. I just feel like the 6-year-old girl putting on my Cinderella shoes and my dresses every day. And I mean, as a pop star girly, it's fashion's a big part of it, building your world, your brand, your style. I love collaborating with different designers, and one day I'd love to have my own fashion line, makeup line, shoe line. Like I just think it's so fun and it's another like creative way I can express myself. I feel like it all plays into everything. When I'm writing the music, I'm always thinking, okay, what's the visuals? What am I going to be wearing? Because it's all, a world I'm building, and I just love all parts of it.
Absolutely. And I believe you were recently at New York Fashion Week.
I've been out
So,
2 nights in a row.
my God.
It's been nonstop. I was
Well,
gonna have a night off last night, and then my friend Julian invited me to the Dua Lipa concert. I'm like, "I haven't slept in 2 weeks."
there's always something to do. I mean, it's true.
Huh?
What is that experience like nowadays? Because I can't really give, too much insight into it. I think it's changed a lot, even especially since the pandemic.
Mhm.
At least the brands I was familiar with, the kind of events I was familiar with. What has that been like for you just hanging out for the past 2 weeks at New York Fashion Week? Tell me all about it and your relationship to it.
Yeah, well, I went to a lot of events. Somehow found my way into the Studio 54 Valentino event. That
Mhm.
one, there was a lot of hype around that one, and it was at Studio 54. Grew up hearing about Studio 54. My dad went to Studio 54 back in the day, so I was, like, so
Yeah.
excited. But then I got inside, I'm like, "There's a lot of influencers here. Where are, like, all the cool celebrities and artists and stuff?" Cher showed up, that was amazing. But, I mean, there were a lot of, like, influencers, which kind of it's like, I don't know, not like cool, cultured people that, like, should have been there. So it was kind
Yes.
of like a letdown in a sense where, like, where are the actual people, Studio 54, like, the tastemakers, where's Bianca Jagger?
Yes.
Where's Ian Schrager, you know? But so, yeah, a lot of it has changed where it's based fully on clout and the amount of followers you have are being led into the events. Not so much about, who you are as a person, what you do, what makes you cool. Anyone can post a video and go viral and you get 1 million followers. That doesn't mean you're like artistic or like cool.
Interesting.
But everyone's been it's been so nice, and I've had great experiences this week. I went to the Paper Magazine party. That was, amazing. I mean, I love fashion people. I love, like, the fashion world, the girls, the gays, the outfits. In New York, I grew up around them, like, wow, this is just so inspiring. It's very inspiring, you pick up a lot of you meet characters. I love meeting, like, characters and interesting people, and It's great.
Well, that's interesting. I'll be honest, I haven't met too many people from Gen Z who really fixate specifically on these larger than life cultural figures, these artistic figures, via just who's kind of prominent at the moment. So it's interesting that you were fixating on, okay, I went to this revival of Studio 54 for Valentino, and I wanted to see these iconic New York kind of cultural figures. That's really interesting to me. Do you think that has something to do with your upbringing in New York? Is it a New York thing, or do you feel like you've always been drawn to like this Americana iconic pop culture?
I think a bit of both. I do a lot of research. I
Mhm,
study a lot. I mean, Studio 54 is the most iconic club in
mhm,
history. I mean, everyone from Donna Summer, like Prince, everyone was there. So I
of
watched
course.
movies about it, the documentary. So that in my like world, because I love dance music and disco and all of that, I just know so much about it. And also the fact that it was in New York, for sure. I'm a true New Yorker, born and raised.
For
So
sure.
anything New York, Madonna. I know everything about Madonna. I know everything about Lady Gaga. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into that. And this is interesting because, on the back of that, pop culture nostalgia is having a huge moment, which is ironic in a way, right? Because pop culture has never gone away, obviously. But we're
Mhm.
seeing like a different segment of pop culture nostalgia, I think, maybe the 2010s, which seems
Mhm. Yeah.
so close and yet so far. So for example, instead of obviously the early 2000s, but we're seeing, huge moments for people who are like grew up with Lady Gaga and Kesha,
Yeah.
singers like that. What is
Yeah.
your take on this kind of revival of 2010s, pop culture?
It's one of my favorite music
Mhm,
styles and eras. That's the music, that I was growing up on. I
mhm,
was 7, 8, 9, buying all the CDs, like dancing to in my room. And that music is like my happy music. It was like happy times, like young, free, careless. And it's very energetic, positive music. I feel like that time everyone just wanted to like have fun and like wasn't too deep. It wasn't serious. It was just like, grab somebody, let's get on the floor, let's get hot tonight. And Kesha. So when I started my record that's coming out next year, an album, I was listening to a lot of, Black Eyed Peas, Kesha, LMFAO, style
mm,
records, and I pulled a lot of inspiration from, like, the electro synths, all of the saw very, like, saw-driven synth sounds, because that's music that I love and I was listening to a lot. So a lot of the songs that I have are pull a lot of inspiration from that world while still making it my own. But, yeah, that music is just so uplifting, and my generation, we all grew up on that, so it's a bit different than the '90s where I feel like everything comes in 20-year cycles. Everything comes back again. So from
mm.
now, maybe in 20 years, everyone will be nostalgic about the music now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the inevitable outcome. I hope so. I mean, it could take two divergent paths. Let's hope it doesn't go the way of AI completely,
Oh
because we
my
still need
gosh,
a human element, but,
scary.
but that's a whole nother conversation, of course. Speaking a little bit more to just the visuals, because, it's reminiscent of what you're saying, the visuals for the famous music video, and it's full of camp, couture, as I would describe it, spikes, leather, paparazzi chaos. What was the look or moment that made you go, okay, this is kind of my pop star alter ego?
Definitely hiring like 6 of my friends to come with cameras and flash and me in like the limo in this badass outfit with these shades on and me then walking into the club straight through to go perform. That was every moment of that night. And most days, I live to my full, I want to live out like my full character. And when I'm on stage, that happens. And when I'm doing videos, that happens. I'm very like sweet a lot of the time and like soft. But when I'm like out there in performance mode, I turn into a different person. I don't know what it is, but I get very fierce and electric, but that's a side of me. But yeah, that video was very chaotic because it was a birthday party, a release party for my last single, and a music video shoot all in one. So I invited the whole town, all my friends, to the party saying, "It's my birthday, you better be there," so I could have it packed to film a video and release my song and showed the video at night and performed. So, but I was running around like crazy, my head cut off because I was doing costume changes, trying to get this shot, performing, saying hello to this person. It was but it was so fun. It was so fun. Good night. The New York night.
Understood. No, it definitely sounds like it. I mean, there's so much going on, like we talked about. There's always something. Speaking off topic to that, what was the most challenging look to actually move around in? Because when we talk about kind of fashion as costuming, I'm kind of curious if you had a look that was particularly challenging.
Well, the look with the mask, and there was this big leather, scrunch leather bubble thing, shawl that I
Hmm.
was wearing, made by Gouvange, which was part of the lace outfit. That I could not move my head left or right because the mask went into the bubble, and the bubble was like I couldn't move my arms higher than this. And I just re-wore it 2 nights ago to go to Gouvange's fashion show, and I
Hmm.
wore it because it was a custom by him, and I hurt my neck from the fashion show because I was trying to watch the fashion show and I was wearing the outfit and I couldn't turn my head. Right after the fashion show was done, I had to, like, rip this off me because I felt like my neck was going in spasms. But, you do it for the drama. You do it for the look, and that's I think to myself, like, Gaga walking in these massive heels, in an egg, in meat, you do it for the look. Don't complain.
You're absolutely right. You do it for the lore at this point, right? Just everything's for the lore.
Huh?
Wow. Okay. So transitioning from that kind of to the studio sessions, because you mentioned earlier in the conversation your producer Tor, and I'd
Mhm.
like to know, especially Tor and your other producer Jackie. Am I pronouncing his name properly? Yake. I knew there was something a little
Swedish,
bit
he's
special
from
about.
Sweden.
Of course. So, what's one thing you feel like they pulled out of you in the studio that surprised you?
Well, Tor is the most insane producer I ever worked with in my life. Like, his speed and the way he works is just insane. And Yake is a massive songwriter producer from Sweden. The Swedes,
Mhm.
there's something in the water there. They know melody like no one other. So we actually wrote the whole song and presented it to Yake. And then he went in and changed the pre-chorus melody into what you hear now. Queen of the
Mm.
night, the DJ's playing na 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 na. So that was a very beautiful melody change. And we recorded it and wrote it in Yake's home studio in LA, which is where Tor and I have been cooking up for the past year. We have a lot of songs made there. And, it was a great experience. I was just back there 2 weeks ago working on finishing the songs. So there's a lot more coming in that world.
Excellent. And I definitely want to touch on that later as well. And speaking to kind of the vulnerability, you call this a love letter to ambition. So I'm wondering what part of ambition scares you or has cost you something along the way.
From a young age, I've always known that this is what I want to do, and it's a very hard career path. Becoming a successful artist, there's challenges you have to face every single day. It's one of the hardest things to accomplish in the world. I feel because
Hmm.
there's so many artists today, especially all trying to, become successful and make it and like what makes you different. But, I know that this was meant for me. I was put on this planet to do this. And I just want to make people feel good. I like to make positive, uplifting music. Even if it's about a darker subject, still find a way to, give inspiration and hope because the world's so dark. Like, why would I want to add to that? I want to like try to lift up people and create a space where you could feel free and yourself. I wish I had that growing up. So, ambition is what I have and need to accomplish that. And it's my love letter to that because I love it so much, what I do. And there's nothing else in the whole world. And it's caused a lot of, crashes, mental breakdowns quite regularly. There's a lot of stuff to deal with. I mean, the music industry is just there's no rules. There's no rule. It's the Wild
Hmm.
West. So you have to on a daily navigate, make decisions, find your team, not get ripped off, this, that. And it's but if you love it, you love it and you keep going.
That's it. No, and you will be successful. I mean, basically, you keep pushing, and that's it, right? There's no secret formula. There's
The
a
only
lot of
way to
variables,
fail
but
is to stop.
correct, correct.
Is to just stop. And after everything, I graduated NYU in May, the Clive Davis Music School. So I've been doing
Congrats.
school and this the whole time, but I've always known, yeah, that this is what I want to do. And just got to keep your head up high and, believe, fake it till you make it, baby.
Well, let's talk about that too because you're doing amazing, number 1, and I wanna talk about this next chapter because it's really all positive and great things to come. Famous is part of your upcoming project, which you touched on earlier, Princess of the Night. What's the bigger story you're telling with this album?
So, Princess of the Night is this persona of mine that I am on stage and in the club. And of the night, meaning club, dance floor, in the middle of it all, is, what I grew up around, what I love, who I am. And then, princess side, my love for ice skating plays into this. Ice skating is a very elegant, graceful, beautiful sport and it has this, vibe of, royal, just elegant grace, Swan Lake. And I feel like I have that duality in me as an artist, also sonically, because I write songs and play the piano, and I have ballads that I've written that are going to be coming out as well. And I have this contrast of like this, beautiful, elegant, like I'd love to do a concert in a concert hall with an orchestra one day. And
Absolutely.
this club, gritty, downtown, fuck shit up kind of person. So that is like the two sides of me, which makes sense because I'm a Gemini. And this album encompasses both. And my whole life, I've been told, you can't do it all. You can't be a DJ and be a singer and be an ice skater and da 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 da. So I'm like, yeah, of course I can't do all of those separately as professions, but I can find a way to incorporate them all in an artistic way. And that's all the things I love to do. And that's what sets me apart. It makes me who I am. So, yeah.
That's perfect. Well, I think you can do all those things. I think maybe even as recently as a few years ago, people have said you need to concentrate on one particular area and then branch out. I'm not seeing that as much anymore. I think you can do everything as long as you feel comfortable that you can put in the effort. You can do as many things as you want. I've seen a lot of people do that successfully that I'm around. So,
Yeah. I mean, if you can make it work and make it done, do it right in a cohesive
absolutely.
manner. I mean, it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go only write and sing ballads for 2 years and then make a dance record and you'll never hear a dance record again. Like, I'm doing what I feel is natural to me at the time. And with the ice skating, I'm incorporating it into my visuals. Like, I don't
Exactly.
know any singing pop star ice skaters, but it's a cool, beautiful visual aesthetic that I can incorporate into all the songs that I've been writing for the past 2 years.
Absolutely. And on that note, I have a couple questions in closing. So, with respect to what you said about bringing all of those interests together in a cohesive way visually, would there be a dream venue you had in mind to perform this
Mm.
worldwide? Like one in particular? I feel like you would know.
Well, the funny thing is that under a lot of arenas,
Hmm.
there is ice.
Mm.
So under Madison Square Garden, under the well, no, the Toyota Sports Center is an ice rink, but under wherever they do the hockey in different states are also arenas. So they have the capability to seat a lot of people and have ice. So it's totally possible. But my
I
dream
like
venue,
it.
of course, is MSG because New York.
Of course. Like you said, iconic. Yeah. So that definitely brings us to our final question, Chloe. So, what moment recently made you think, yeah, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be?
Well, I was DJing the other night at the Lady Gun Fashion Week party in New York. And this was my first DJ set in a while because I've been really focused on the live and the releases and everything. But I was at this venue, it was this club downtown called Submerser, and it was literally in the basement. But it was so cool. And the Lady Gun family and everyone that they invited it was such an incredible energy in the room. I was killing it on the decks, music that I love to play. All of the cunty pop dance, Madonna remixes, old songs remix new ways, new songs, Zara Larson edits, Addison Rae edits mixed with Nile Rodgers and, all of that. They were eating it up and I was eating it up and I was just having the best time ever and the energy was amazing. And then I sang Famous, I sang Iconic, and that even, like, went over better. And, it's really hard to, when you're at the beginning, get people to care or pay attention, but there were a lot of people in the queer community there, and I'm, like, really figuring out who my audience is and why and who I'm making this music for to listen to, and the more I'm out there performing and meeting people, I'm like, this is what I'm doing, and, it's for this purpose, but it was just I left that I couldn't sleep, like, all night. I was just so excited. It was so fun.
I love that. I love that. Well, all incredible things to come, and I'm so glad you took the time, to hop on a conversation with me today. So thank you, Chloe, for being here. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Kiva. It was so great to meet you, and I hope we can do this again soon.
Absolutely.